Okay. All right, how we doing, y'all? A reflection of our light bearer was teaching us about frequency triggers through divine remembrance. And it's crazy because this is how this being was teaching us how to become our best self in silence. Because you can say this light bearer can, it can be any name. But that's the thing though, we don't have to name what Jesus Christ and Lucifer couldn't be anymore. No, 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 no. But we have to understand now, we are the trigger for our frequencies to hear us, receiving the things that we never seen before. Because we get to really understand the stories of what our consciousness is growing up into, because it has to be expanded. Expanded meaning that, I just made a video on it. Okay, so I made a video on the energetic mechanics of temptation and moral rebellion that extends across dimensions. With the resistance of your temptations. The divine remembrance of when you see something, or you see a woman, or a man, or whatever, and the first thought you have is lusting after the vessel, you have to be able to send a trigger. You have to really internalize and kill that thought. That's a strong word. Get rid of that thought. When you get rid of the thought, you're remembering what you have to let go of, because all you can do is focus on what you're lusting after within yourself, or what has happened to you upon your past, because of what you wanted to align through as far as choice to build a lesson in. And the lesson should have been learned at that moment, but some people act on it instantly. When they do that, that's when they forget about what their meaning is, and they begin to separate themselves from that source, because they blame it on, my bad, that's somebody else pulling up. They blame it on everything else outside themselves, but not their choices. You chose to commit that act, and you didn't remember why you did it. You don't remember your being at that point. So you have to look for the external source, God, Jesus, prayer, church, Bible, whatever, to help you find that answer. But yet, why don't you ever just sit and ask yourself what the being was teaching you? Because that was your being of light. That's the thing. That's how much light we lost. But wait, how can you lose what you never saw? That's why Saul plays games. Because when you play a game with the mind, you have to get somebody with a stronger mind to beat that game that Saul never saw. Because when you can see what the dark saw, now the light begins to want to see what you're seeing, because you saw what you've seen already, but that hasn't been seen before. So you play a scene of what you want to hold on to because you've seen it before. You were in that perspective. It was dark, but you had some light going to it. But what does that mean for your being though? Because your being never told you what you need to do in that scene that you kept replaying. So why rewind a current moment that you're stuck in for the future? That's not your nature, but you froze that in the womb of synthetic versions of what you wanted to observe your paradigms in. But that's why the contradiction has to be contradicted, because where you want to go cannot be coded in the morals that you have to learn a lesson in. For example, let's say a son, there's two boys. One of them stays in a family that may cause harm to them, or may even do things that they haven't questioned. But then another one, they go away from the family, and both of them are trapped in the same illusion. Now, a lot of these beings think like this, but one of the sons basically thinks as if they're so far gone in the family that they stayed because they loved that experience that they are attached to. And the other one, basically tells himself he earned this love by getting away from what he needed to hold on to as well. They're both going on different journeys of love, but they're trapped in the same exact illusion. But they need to realize that, for one, we're never separated. You can only think that when you start putting a belief in it, when you start putting a feeling into it. But you have to question the lesson by teaching yourself to not separate from what you need to just realize. But that's why these real eyes can only tell you those real lies, because that truth cannot be a better lie than what you have to start realizing, because that's what you can do in divine remembrance. Remember that you should not put so much of a feeling. Remember, it's always moderation. You shouldn't want to always put a feeling into what that observation was showing you, because that's what catches you into lacking, into seeking the information that can help you further your destination. But that's a frequency trigger once again, because everything has to be triggered by what you told yourself before you came. But in order to go into divine remembrance, you have to be able to understand polarity and move from resistance and pull yourself back in to just being present. Because if you're always fighting something, you're not sitting within and defending yourself into what you already won against. When you won against a simulation, the game cannot go against you anymore. Even if it plays against you, you're ready for it. That's why you accept the losses, because you never lost. You're learning something while you win. You are winning and won what? Sanity, clarity, concentration, a different skill, a different way to make sure that this situation doesn't happen again. That's why you're furthering yourself along the way by telling yourself what you have to stop getting in the way of. And that's basically the way you're supposed to be feeling. It's okay to want to do things for other people, but why not do it more for yourself, to where now doing it for others, it means nothing. You don't see anything from that, because your being does not care for the accolades and the material. Because outside the material, your physical already tells you what you're attracted by, the way you feel outside of yourself. Okay, another example. So a mustard seed, basically when you're going through a small awakening, you'll always have an insight that expands your consciousness across dimensions. So a single thought we have can awaken a whole different world we've never seen before. Every day, celestial rising, divine afternoon, and divine night, and successful night to the divine mirage watching this mindful message. Today we're going to have a great perspective to think on, and that's going to help us expand our mind into a different dimension that we already been in for today. Remember, it's only 5:53 a.m. and there are many people who are just not getting up, many people who are still sleeping. But the thing is though, how are you outworking yourself from yesterday? Can you get up at 12 or 1 and make videos or do something to help your future? Even if it looks bad or negative, how can you help trigger yourself into being better? When I was streaming on Zoom, put it on YouTube, I'm not lost on live, and I also won on live. I want people to see like, hey, I'm also learning the game as well, as far as 2K26. And that's a frequency trigger, because I wanted to get mad. I wanted to express what was going on. And that was the thing as well. Also seeing, my brother was also watching the stream and stuff too. And our roommate, I was like, fuck, like I don't want anybody to really see what I'm talking about. But they're supporting the grind. So it's kind of like, remember, trigger yourself to telling yourself it's okay when people see your truth, because they know why you're doing it. Even if you look ass or whatever, they're helping you get to a better level. That's exactly why you had to show those faults, show your mistakes, be authentic, and people laughing or whatever, cool. Always remain healthy-minded by being better in your mindset that you set better intentions in, because you're not doing it for them or you. You're just having fun within the experience that you're already being better with. All right, another contradiction from, if the frequency was considered to be Jesus Christ or Lucifer, how would it communicate the truth? It would remain silent. So Jesus Christ could never teach a disciple, or it would never have disciples, because if Jesus Christ or Lucifer had disciples, it would basically be itself in different vessels that were aware of the teaching that never said a word. So let's say you help a wounded person that other people ignored. When you're doing that, this action of compassion will show across different spectrums of realms that we have a higher consciousness in, and it'll break the cycle of you being judged through yourself. Because our awakening moves by being a service to others, regardless of judging what has happened to them. That's why being a great person, it will take you far in life. Because when you don't see yourself as whatever people want you to be, you don't care about how you're being because you're just doing things to help yourself remain a great person. Excuse me. That's all that matters. You want to help people understand how they feel. So if you're in school and somebody gets pushed over and their books fall or their lunch spills or whatever and they trip, it takes nothing to help them up and say, hey, you okay? Everybody laughing and all that, but that's why I don't mind doing that. I wouldn't mind helping them and say, I got you. Let's go. You want some food? Or shit, here's mine. I'm the type of person to where I will give you, like, if I don't want to eat this food or whatever, I don't mind handing it over to you because, I mean, you don't have any food anymore. We're going to clean it up. You straight? You good? Nice to meet you, by the way. Have a great day. Because that can help them feel better. Wow, somebody does care. I do, even though I don't care about your existence, but I don't want to see you fail. I don't want to see you fall. Remember, you're my reflection. I got other things to focus on, but you're also my focus as well because we're still human, per se. And I'll also be lying by saying that, but we're still practicing the human experience, so I'm no better than you, you no better than me. We're on the same exact level. I want to see you do better. I want to see you move past this. Okay, they laughed at you, so what? Move on. How will you bounce back from the situation? Don't see it as an embarrassment. See it as you growing, you being able to flow. That's exactly why that act right there, it'll cause you to surpass judgment. So you can't get judged for doing negative things because that's not your intention. That's not your character. That's not your body. You're not walking around casting negative judgment or even killing people, bullying people, etc. You're not doing those types of things because what does that do for you? For one, it'll be too easy when you are awakened in this world. So why would you even do it? Makes no sense. Therefore, I'd rather go the boring route and be a good Samaritan. I don't want to kill nobody. I don't want to fight nobody. I don't want to hurt anybody. I want to move with love. But I don't mind sending you to your maker if you are causing harm to me or my family or the people I love. I admit that. And I mean, you should too. Would you want to have a robber go into your crib and you just say, yeah, hey, go ahead and kill all of us, man. You got it. What? You just wasted your life and your family's life because you were scared to die? I would die for my family. How about you? That's why y'all let go of this realm. Doesn't mean anything. And it's being taught us that in silence through telepathy. Before any language, in Hebrew, Aramaic, Chaldean, Sumerian, whatever language, whatever tongue that we spoke spells in, how did we sound before we made a sound? If we didn't know what sound sounded like, how do we know what sound sounded like? And how can you tell us what that sound sounds like? What does true sound like? So before we even made a noise, what was our truth? How loud were our thoughts to where now we say them out loud, but are you saying your thoughts out loud when your thoughts don't belong to you? How will your frequency trigger what you should have remembered in divinity? Have a great Nirvana Divine Reflection.